That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are live once again for a brand new week of COPD Navigator House Call. Happy May the 4th, everyone. My name is Mike Hess. I am the COPD dude. We run COPD Navigator discussion group here on, or here or there, depending on where you're watching this, over on the old Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're checking out some Twitter stuff. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. First off, a good afternoon to you too. Joe Walsh, welcome back once again. Joe's been a very huge supporter of us here on Navigator for a little while now. I know John Linnell checks in from time to time, trying to get him to sing us a little Rocky Mountain Way or something like that along those lines. Hope you're having a great Monday afternoon. It is a little bit cooler than it was the last few days here in Michigan, but still a pretty nice day overall. So a little bit of tech issues as we get started here, just in our usual stuff as far as comments and things like that. So if I'm a little slow replying to comments, or if it looks like I'm looking in 8 different directions at once, now you know why. The beauty of live television, as I like to say. So we're going to see if we can just fire that back up again real quick. There we go. Try and coordinate everything. When things go right, it's really a lot of fun. When things don't go so right, then it's kind of a pain in the old posterior. But we're going to make it work. Next shout out of the day will go to a good friend of mine and respiratory therapist from the great state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth. Going out to Fams Tall. Fams is a respiratory therapist, again by training, but also does a tremendous amount of charity work, raising money for a mission he does, sending respiratory supplies and care and clinicians and all kinds of stuff to places in the developing world. He recently came out with a new line of anti-coronavirus shirts. I will apologize in advance. There is a potentially obscene gesture that may offend certain people on here, but it is certainly and no disparagement or anything like that. Just a heads up. Avert your eyes for a few minutes. But we have this is the RT Strong version. Try and get it in frame there. Kind of as I said, anti-coronavirus stuff. We got one for the whole family. Although we did get the Nurse Strong version for my wife Kelly, who is upstairs right now, fighting the good fight with her patients and against coronavirus stuff. Fortunately, our jobs are keeping us well for right now, but again, want to make sure that everybody else is out there staying strong and staying safe. So, as many of you may know, yes, Kim does mention today is cooler but still sunny. We're able to get outside and play some Foursquare a little while ago. Got to get with the boys. That's right. Also joining me in the studio, I'll have you kind of pop your head in a little bit. Whoops. I know I got to go back to the preview shot. There we go. Joining me down here in the studio is known delight, Emma Hess. Emma is starting to learn the ways of some of this new media stuff. As I was getting ready to mention, I've had this group on Facebook, and I'm sure on this day will be telling me anytime now. It's been right around 6 years, and we've kind of evolved along with a lot of the technology. We've been doing live shows on and off for, I believe, about 3 years. And with the onset of the stay home warnings and all that stuff with this pandemic, Emma has been helping me out the last couple of weeks, learning how to do the media stuff, learning how the broadcasting software works, learning what goes into setting up the threads and the shares and all that stuff. And why things don't always go the way they should. So she wanted to get a little bit closer look today, so she's down here in the studio with me. If you have any questions for her, and she's been the biggest help that she's been doing is helping us with the Fitness Friday, which we will be doing again this week. 2 weeks ago, we did a Just Dance off with again my wife Kelly. Last week we did some chair exercises, some chair yoga, some chair tai chi, and even some chair aerobics. Featuring Joseph and Thomas Hess.
I was gonna suggest you do the Ring Fit, but we don't have Ring Fit on our Switch. It's on the boys' Switch.
We don't have that?
Um, I, I don't know. Maybe we do.
All right. Well, we'll look into that. Uh, Checking out some suggestions for this week. One of the things we've discussed a lot is a game called Ring Fit Adventure that you can do on, believe it or not, the Ring Fit.
The
The
Switch.
Switch, yes, it gives you a little ring, and you can do that kind of control stuff, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Not sure if it's on our device or the other device, but we will see what we can do to figure that out. What the goal is for Fitness Friday? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but Fitness Friday is trying to get people to, as you might expect, stay fit. And one of the reasons we're doing um, this show every week now instead of or every day instead of every other week is because we know that a lot of folks are having trouble getting to pulmonary rehab and all that sort of thing. And we know that there's a fair amount of data out there that's telling us that activity is down roughly 50%. And while it does seem to be nicer outside and all that stuff, we have to be very careful about maintaining our physical distancing and things like that. Because I saw one thing that was a little bit sobering, and I'll take it on a serious note here for a minute. We have been enduring a lot of these lockdowns and lockouts and quarantines and all that stuff to kind of get to the point where we're treading water with new cases and things like that. So we really don't want to be too aggressive with hoping, thinking, whatever, that this is over. This is a long way from over, as much as we would all like it to be. So we have to be very careful when we're going outside. And so even when it's nicer and we can go for walks and things like that, we still have to be mindful of the safety requirements and things like that. So just use some sense there. Make sure that you're continuing to mask up. Make sure you're encouraging those around you to mask up, because the purpose of the masks is essentially to keep everyone else safe. If you happen to be an asymptomatic carrier or something like that, you don't want to be getting other people sick. So ideally, everyone around you is going to be wearing a mask and keeping everybody safe. More directly, we've got a couple of quick updates. As I mentioned, this is coming up on the 6-year anniversary of our group. I encourage everybody to come over to come over to Facebook and search for COPD Navigator. You'll find a page with a little icon, kind of like this lighthouse right here. That is our page where we can share a lot of data, and we can share a lot of, this is where we have a lot of our reminders and stuff for these events. We're going to be sending out a lot more information through that channel. And then that also sends you to a link to our Facebook group. And our group is a little bit more of a closed circumstance where we, of course, invite anybody who has interest in the COPD community. But we also know that not everybody wants to have the discussion out in public. That was when I first started, or when I was first looking at how do we do these Facebook environments. That was one of the biggest complaints I saw in a lot of groups, is some of them were what we called open, where anything that got posted in there got broadcast to anybody who was friends with you. And that wasn't great. So we made the decision from the beginning to make COPD Navigator group fairly locked down. So you have to join in order to see any posts and all that stuff. But the flip side to that is it makes it kind of cumbersome to find the information and to do all that stuff easily. So that's why we kind of have this split thing, and it was pointed out to me earlier today that sometimes that's a little confusing, because we've got COPD Navigator, the group, we've got COPD Navigator, the page, and then we start getting into COPD Navigator, the YouTube channel, and COPD Navigator, the Twitter, and kind of reminds me of that old movie Spaceballs, where everything is branded and licensed and all that stuff. But so we did change the name of the group to COPD Navigator Discussion Group. So, and then the name of the page remains COPD Navigator, just for ease of searching and all that stuff, because you can always get to the group from the page very easily. So, if you are a member of the group and you see some changes, that is why. Let's see what else we got going on. So, just okay. This would be a great time for anybody to, oops, didn't want to do that. This would be a great time for anybody if you have any questions related to COPD. This is kind of a free day. Mondays are usually kind of a footloose and fancy free, so to speak, sort of day. We don't necessarily have a big topic or anything like that. Having a little fun with Star Wars today, of course, but so while I'm kind of running my mouth for a while, we'll say hello to John, joining from YouTube today, at least for now. May hop over to Facebook, he says. Trying to build both of these audiences. Kind of in one of the descriptions, I guess you'd call it, particularly on the YouTube and I believe on the main video. Today's thing I put as trying to help bring COPD out of the dark side and shed some light on it into the light. That's been a theme that I have tried to go with for quite a while. That's part of the reason we have, can't bend my arm that way, but that's why we have this lighthouse. That's why we have put on for the last few years in Kalamazoo a symposium called Shining a Light on Lung Disease. We know that COPD and a lot of other conditions spend time in the dark. Nobody knows what they are in the general public. Of course, if you're dealing with it, you know exactly what it is. But so many people don't know what it is. They don't have an understanding of why it's difficult, why it's important, why it's a problem. A lot of these things are just unknown to a lot of people. So we want to shine some light on that. And one of the ways you can help me do that, it feels weird, but I've been asking it a lot lately. Just make sure that you are liking and sharing and subscribing the videos, the posts, all that kind of stuff. And that's why we have these different channels now also, because I want to use these platforms to try and advocate better. I'm trying to figure out how to drum up some membership. As John knows, we're both on the board of directors for the U.S. COPD Coalition, and one of my charges is as a membership chair to try and get organizations and even individuals to come be members and come support the cause. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to get to help people share the information, to get it out there so that we can speak with a larger voice and hopefully generate some more attention. I know not everybody wants to, I'm not trying to sell anybody or pitch anybody anything. I know it may sound that way and it kind of feels that way, but the end goal is to get all this information out there to whoever needs it and to as many people who need it as possible. So that is a rather long and roundabout way of explaining why we're doing this. So what else is going on here? As I mentioned, the chat function is working a little bit odd, so bear with me if you have a question, but looks like we're doing okay with that so far. So the next thing on the agenda is part of the reason Emma is down here also today is tomorrow. We are going to be having a very special episode, as they say. We're going to be talking about a couple of different topics. As I mentioned, my wife is a nurse practitioner who works a lot with obesity and metabolic medicine. So we're going to be getting some diet and nutrition tips from her. It's going to be a fantastic time to bring in. We've noticed, she and I have noticed a lot in the past. There are a lot of commonalities between our population, the populations we treat, the chronic lung folks and the obesity and weight issue folks. We both experience problems with, stigma. I saw a member was in the group today was posting, she's really working hard to quit smoking and it's really difficult. And I know we on the clinical side have not always been as supportive as we should be for our smokers. It's always this kind of, well, why don't you just quit? And similarly, it's why don't you just lose weight and things like that. And we know now that
I'm glad you can see that.
kind of flapping around in there. That's
Apologies.
we know now that any kind of chronic condition is never as easy as why don't you just fix it. We know that a lot of these things are tied to what we call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, that lead you to smoke, that lead you to eat too much, that lead you to do all that stuff. We know that there's a distinct connection between ACEs and COPD. That's something that we're hoping to see more of at our big national conference this fall. Fingers crossed that that's still going to happen. But we also know that, especially in COPD, we kind of look at it as its own silo or its own stovepipe. Well, it's COPD, it's a breathing problem. We're just going to talk about the lungs. We're going to give you lung medication, we're going to do lung procedures, and we're going to work on your breathing. But the more we learn about COPD, the more we know that we can't just take that approach. And of course, this is true for pretty much any chronic disease. These impact all your other systems too. Your lung problems obviously affect your circulation. They can affect your neural system, your central nervous system, because they can affect your thought processes, and you can have the kind of brain fog and things like that. They affect your endocrine system. There's a solid link between COPD and diabetes. We know that we see them a lot together. Digestion stuff, the gastrointestinal stuff. We know that GERD can be, the reflux can be a major issue with affecting reactive airways and COPD and stuff like that. So we know that we should be looking at a lot of these things together, but we don't do a very good job of that on the clinical side. So again, kind of a long roundabout way of talking about why I'm very fortunate enough to be bringing in Kelly tomorrow, who's going to be on hand to answer a lot of diet and nutrition questions, along with the breathing stuff that I'm going to be handling. And as I mentioned, Emma will be joining us also, because one of the biggest issues we see right now in anything is making sure that you are doing enough self-care. We see this has probably been more of a focus for a lot of the clinicians out there who are on those front lines and dealing with a lot of this stuff day to day. And it can seem overwhelming. It can seem problematic to take some time out of the day to care for yourself. But there are certainly some very simple things that you can do to kind of self-soothe and things like that. So we're going to be talking about that. And on those lines, Emma is going to be helping us with some self-care by making our nails look nice. We have some nice nail polishes and glitters and Holo Taco stuff. So we're going to call it Holo Taco Tuesday. And we're going to get a little bit of a makeover while we're answering your questions. So and hopefully you can learn a little bit about why taking the time out to do something silly like just do your nails is okay. Whether you are a caregiver, whether you're a clinician, whether you're somebody living with COPD, it's okay to take some time for yourself. Take that time, give yourself a hug, give yourself a treat, give yourself whatever it is that is going to make you feel a little bit better, and that's okay. It doesn't always have to be productivity, caring, all that. We don't have to get into that hamster wheel. We don't have to be running around on that all the time. It's okay to take some time for yourself. So that's going to be our Tuesday show. Let's see what else we got going on here. A quick shout out to Diana, Troy, and Patrick joining us from various places around the country. Let's see. Just taking a look real quick at a couple of other places to make sure that okay. Get spoiled when you have the what the system calls the unified chat window, and when that's not working, that's a bummer. And I thought I figured out why it usually doesn't work, but it seems to be a whole new problem on the upstream side of things right now. So, but one last thing that I have, let's get into some of the other plans. Wednesday, we've been doing for the last couple of weeks now, we've been working a lot with harmonicas. And as a matter of fact, let's see. I should have thought of this before, but I just thought of it now. So harmonicas are an excellent way to give yourself some pursed lip breathing, some resistance, all that kind of thing. with some fun to it. I mean, you can do these things with medical devices like my good friend the Aerobica here, or an acapella device, those sorts of things. Um, but so I don't know if that's really the one. We'll find out what this is, but and it can sound like this. That didn't sound right.
Nope.
No, it's supposed to be Luke's theme. It's supposed to sound lots. All right, and that's going to get real echoey for a second, to just brace you for that. Sorry about that. But I wanted to see what that actually was. And so it is, this is supposed to be this theme, but it seems so high.
Well, it's a harmonica.
That can't be right. Let's see if I can find a better.
Not very low.
I know, but it just seems really high. Well, this one might be a little easier.
You'll have to play Happy Birthday on Wednesday.
Ah, yes. That would be good. If anybody would care to wish the not so subtle hint of Emma getting her birthday is on May the 6th. So she comes rolling in after May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th. So let's see, what is it? Oh, it's
The Sixth Strikes Back.
The Sixth Strikes Back.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Rise of the Sixth?
Yeah, I think.
Rise of the
makes more
Skywalker.
sense.
Okay. Anybody's got some clever Star Wars stuff for the Sixth, we'll take that too. It does sound a lot like the Sith. Yeah, because it's Revenge of the Fifth. Should be Return of the Fifth and then Revenge of the Sixth. Anyway, fun times here. So let's see. That's at least recognizable.
Yeah.
Ah, shoot. Oop. Oh, I almost had it. One last time. And that one is not great for COPD, I'll tell you that, because that is a lot of inhale right there. So, but that is, of course, how can you not get the Imperial March, which apparently is a lot easier to play than the traditional Star Wars theme. So, Jamie checking in May the 12th. So a birthday coming up next week. What makes mine special? Well, clearly, let's see, what do we have up to 12? We've got the 12th Doctor, who was played by Peter Capaldi, arguably one of the best Doctor Who's of all of Doctor Who. And undoubtedly, I'll start a firestorm with the half dozen people or whoever. Where are my Whovians at out there? Come on. Share this if you think that Peter Capaldi is the best Doctor. Or if you think David Tennant was the best Doctor. Or if you think... tell me who your favorite Doctor was. This is also one of the beauties of live TV, is that I cannot remember any of the classic Who Doctors right now.
William Hartnell.
William Hartnell, number one, of course.
Tom Baker?
Tom Baker.
His name?
Yep. Was there another Baker or was there another Tom?
Maybe another. I don't know all their names. I only know those two because they're the first and the fourth and first one, obviously, because he was the first
Yeah.
one.
So
And
there's
the fourth one is like the most popular.
there's the
classic.
crabby guy, the guy with the bowl
The
cut.
Spoctor.
Yeah, that was number 2.
Yep. And
Um,
number 3 was kind of rocking a Capaldi look because he had floofy hair.
that's right. That's right.
And then Tom Baker was 4.
And he had the scarf
and then
that I have.
5 had the celery.
5 had the celery.
He is David Tennant's father-in-law. Fun fact.
Right.
And
then was
6,
6 the cranky guy
I think so.
that nobody liked?
I thought that was 7.
Could be 7. Definitely, arguably.
And then 8.
I'm from, I'm Midwestern. It's a no, yeah, absolutely
No,
kind
yeah,
of thing.
absolutely.
Tennant all the way, says Diana. We have this discussion a lot in our house, as you can imagine. Oh, come on. Capaldi's amazing. How can
Who
you
said
not
that?
like the cranky old man? The issue I have with Tennant, and it's not even so much an issue per se, but I think his writing was so much better than, for example, Matt Smith.
Oh boy, he has some stories. love Matt
I
Smith,
really like Matt Smith's characterization. As I really like David Tennant's too. I mean, don't get me wrong at all. But I really, and of course, they always say your doctor is your first doctor. The first episode of Doctor Who I watched was Matt Smith's first episode because I thought, well, okay, I'm a sci-fi person, shockingly.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I mean, shockingly.
This
But I was
Sonic
intimidated by all of the I didn't want to get into it because there was so much fandom and all that stuff. I thought, well, here's a clean break. We got Matt Smith. We'll get into it now, and I really enjoyed that season. So certainly nothing against Tennant, nothing against Christopher Eccleston, nothing against any of the classic doctors.
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker is amazing.
I love her.
So what I would say is, especially as, you like Smith's stories better. Okay, so now I'm the other way. I kind of like Smith as the doctor, but with Tennant's stories. So we're just not connecting anywhere today. I don't know. We have fallen through the crack in time, and silence will fall, and we're in a world of hurt. So. All right. So that is a little bit, and this is the beauty of what we're trying to do today, folks. This is the kind of high quality content that you should be getting at your pulmonary rehab, but you can't because you can't go anywhere. You got to stay inside and stay safe. So come on and join the fun on House Call here, folks.
Stay home, stay safe, as Governor Whitmer put it.
Stay home, stay safe. That's right. And
She's
stay strong.
great.
I will give your not your principal because you're not in high school anymore, but I will give one of our local principals credit for that. I really
Valerie
like the
Bogan.
whole stay strong thing. So so that is Hollow Taco Tuesday. We've got Harmonica Wednesday because I still can't figure out a fun Wednesday. Maybe we'll just call it Harmonica, but the W is silent Wednesday. Harmonica. Thursday is going to be really cool. Thursday, we're going to have our usual 4:00 house call, but Thursday we will also be having our very first fully interactive via the Zoom platform, patient/clinician conference. I believe I called it the Ready Room because I'm still trying to go with the nautical / maybe a little bit of sci-fi Star Trek kind of theme. But I want to invite everybody out there. I've got an invite on the page and I believe in the group. Want to get everybody who is willing. Zoom is a very easy to use app that you can get on your phone or your PC or whatever device you use, whatever device you're watching me on right now. You can get Zoom on. And by simply doing a couple of clicks and waiting for me to let you into the room, we can have actual face-to-face interaction. You can opt to just have your audio. You can call in on the phone. It is a really easy way to have true virtually real time. I mean, there's always that like half-second lag with video conferences and stuff, but we can have some real interaction. So if you have questions that you want, or you need demonstrations or you just want to have a little bit more interaction, look for the Zoom invite, or send me a message and we'll get that sent out to you. We'll get you connected with it. but I'm really looking forward to that. I have been on a couple of conferences with Joe Morrison's Right to Breathe group, and they have gone really well. It's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time on Thursday, so we've got some evening folks. We'll have some afternoon folks. We should have a lot of great discussion, and if it goes well, we will be sure to continue it. I'm looking forward to seeing that again in the future. So that is our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday plan. We're going to have Fitness Friday, depending on what kind of fitness stuff we can find. And then that takes us into another week of staying #social at a distance. That'll keep us going. I want to make that a thing. What?
The hashtag symbol?
Yeah. Well, no, that's from Saturday Night Live. But I want to social from a distance. Let's get that trending. Anything for that engagement, folks. Anything for that engagement. Except for shaving my beard. And yes, and stay sober. I don't know what the and is there, but yes, we are definitely stay home, stay safe, stay strong, stay sober.
I'm sober anyway, so.
In moderation. Well, I mean, I guess it's hard to be sober in moderation, but just again, it's all part of staying safe. I want people to again, it comes down to some of the self-care. You can do things like that responsibly, and you can do things like that irresponsibly. So, in many cases, I would generally recommend that, yeah, staying sober is probably the way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, let's see what else is going on in the world of. Oh yeah, we got on this because I had got to scroll back a little bit to point out to Jamie that yes, she's the 12th is the 12th Doctor. So. No, I'm not. Yeah. Okay. Moderation. So got to stay out of those, stay sober on the Zoom calls for sure. But, yeah, so we will be, like I said, we'll be seeing people Thursday night. Hopefully we'll see some of you folks there. Again, the link will be on, the page and the group. And I will be happy to get that to, whoever else needs it. So, take a quick look at Twitter, getting a couple of retweets there. So thank you very much. Let's see what else we got going on here. So one of the things that we try to do when, again, I'm filling space, waiting for some questions to come in, is to scroll through and see if we have any new COPD news. And I don't know that we will, but I do think I figured out I don't know if I figured out what the problem is, but we're going to try getting into the NIH again. And see if we can bring up their NHLBI, their asthma stuff, because this is, of course, Asthma Awareness Month, and many people with COPD also have asthma. So, no, we're still having some trouble. Now we just can't find the domain at all. It's not even a security thing, so. Having some weird stuff where my laptop, where I do the media generation, does not want to talk to the government at all. I can pull it up on my phone on the same network. I just cannot pull it up on here. But what I can do is maybe over on our COPD Navigator page, I shared a link earlier today reminding folks that sometimes air quality is an issue. And when we talk about air quality, a lot of times we think about pollution. We think about industrial smoke. We think about wood smoke. We've talked about earlier this year. Boy, it seems like such a long time ago. I think it was only February. I gave a presentation to our residents about air quality and factors that affect air pollution. And that was still when the Australian outback wildfires were flaring dramatically. And we thought that was going to be the big story of the year. But NIH is doing a campaign right now, and hopefully we can get this loaded up here soon, maybe. In any event, you also have to bear in mind that air quality also includes things like pollen counts and mold spore counts. And even ozone. Ozone is not a thing that we often think of, but ozone can be really tricky sometimes, particularly in a place like Kalamazoo, where I live, or in Michigan in general, because it's very odd. If I was able to pull it up, and let's see, I don't know, I don't think I have that presentation saved here, unfortunately, but when I did my presentation, I found a map. Well, I wonder if I can maybe it'll talk to the state of Michigan government. Michigan ozone non-attainment. That's what we want to do. So I might be able to, if I can pull up. Okay, so here we go. So now I just need to do that. And we're going to make it just a touch bigger. That might be too big. Yeah, we'll bump that down just one more notch. Okay. So, and voila. So you can see from this map, these are the areas where Michigan did not reach our federal ozone standards. This is, I believe, the 2015 governmental EPA. Yeah, the 2015 ozone standard. So I can scroll up and leave that in the shot there. Well, it's in the shot. Cool. And as you might expect, southeastern Michigan, home of Detroit and the auto industry and a lot of factories and a lot of those issues, that is one of our hotspots for ozone. Makes sense. We got a lot of, as I said, we got a lot of factories and all that stuff. But then we look over at the west side of Michigan. Again, this is where I live, and it's still one of the blue shaded counties. But you can see these counties are not necessarily industrial. There's a couple of them that are kind of by Grand Rapids, but we've got big cities in Benton Harbor and St. Joseph. We've got Grand Haven, maybe Holland, Muskegon area. That can have a little bit of pollution, but these would not be the most obvious places, particularly being right next to Lake Michigan, right? But what you've got to remember is there's literally nothing on Lake Michigan. It's basically a straight shot from two other major industrial places in Chicago and Milwaukee. So whatever is generated there, when the winds get right, they blow right across the water. And depending on where the sensors are for picking up the ozone in these counties, if they're on the lakeshore, then they're going to ping the ozone sensors. Whoops, turned off the wrong thing there. That's no good. There we go. So even if you live in a place where you don't have a lot of factories and you think you might be perfectly safe, you've got to be mindful of other surroundings and wind patterns and things like that. And that was where, that would be a really cool graphic if I can find that again. Australian wildfire. This was a map from NASA that kind of showed where the pollutants were going. Here we go. So, January 9th. Yeah, so this was... Where's the cool map? Maybe this was it. Well, in any event, there was, once upon a time, a really cool map that showed us how... I'll look one more place and see if I can find it. Oh, all just coming up from... That's weird. Anyway, what this map was detecting, or this satellite imagery, it was telling us that apparently I searched for Australia a lot. I would not have guessed that. Oh, here we go, from back in February. That was... Isn't this the page I was on? Ah, here we go. So we're going to pause that. I was actually able to find it. Space.com. Hopefully we can get a little bit higher resolution thing here. And then we're going to pull that back up into the window. So this is when it's rolling, it's not looking very high resolution. There we go. Now we got high resolution. You can kind of see the effects of a lot of these issues. I mean, they are truly global issues. And we've got fires ranging in Siberia. I know I just saw a thing about that recently, that we've got more brush fires in Siberia. So that's kind of at the top of the map. And you can see they've kind of flared out again. Let's go ahead to see if we can get closer to January, where they're really... Yeah, you can see those plumes coming from Australia, making it all the way, this is in December still, making it all the way to South America. And some particles can actually be found all the way around the world by now. They were predicting then that they were going to make it, and I'm sure that they are at that place now. But you can see where these are massive issues of some of it is smoke, some of it is particulate matter. These are pollutants that are going to affect your breathing, and you might not always be able to see them. You might not always be able to recognize them, but they're going to have an impact on your day-to-day life. And you don't always remember to think about that kind of stuff if you live in a place, off the top of my head, like Colorado or Montana or someplace like that, where you don't usually have issues with air quality. If there are fires, if there are all kinds of stuff, you will eventually have some kind of impact from that. You can eventually have some kind of impact from that. So, yeah. Judy checking in from North Carolina. Speaking of Australia, there's Russell Winwood joining us from the COPD athlete from Australia. Recently celebrated a birthday. So happy birthday. I believe it was you, Russell. I haven't been very diligent about my Facebook birthdays lately, I will admit. But Russell is a fantastic guy, and I should pay closer attention to that. So, what else we got here?
Potato.
Yes, we have the namesake of the Potato Cast, Potato the Cat. Would you like to say hello to the audience there, Potato? There's Potato. Hey. Potato has little use for fame and celebrity, which is funny because when she's off camera, she usually likes to be the center of attention. So that's a little bit surprising. But, yeah. So that is why we pay attention to air quality. So let's see what might be new in the world of COPD. We are closing in on a couple of weeks up from ATS, the American Thoracic Society Conference, or what would have been had that one not been canceled. I am currently involved in an article right now that hopefully will be published soon to remind people that there's been a lot of talk about not using aerosol generating procedures. And of course, nebulizers, our old friend, the nebulizer here, generates a lot of aerosol when you're doing these treatments. And so a lot of folks have been concerned about whether or not they should use those in the hospital or at home or any of these other places. And the fact of the matter is, you should be using your maintenance routine, whatever you're on. You shouldn't really make a lot of changes to that. Um, there's not a lot of evidence that's telling us, even in the hospital setting, that these are particularly dangerous, especially if you're using personal protective equipment properly and all those sorts of things. And the switch over to meter dose inhalers has really had a significant negative impact on the supply chain. So do not hesitate if you're at home. Do not hesitate to use your nebulizer as directed, and make sure that you are keeping yourself healthy. So we haven't really been able to find a lot of good COPD related news lately because a lot of things have been kind of on hold. A lot of studies have been on hold. A lot of studies have been on hold, and a lot of the data that would be published is maybe being held a little bit to see, if there are conferences or things like that that are still going to happen, or if we should just be moving things to electronic stuff. But one thing that we can point out, this was actually published a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we've really talked about it much, is from a magazine called HCP Live. We'll see if we can pull that back up on the window here. Yeah, so untreated sleep apnea doubles the risk of hospital readmission. So we know that there's a big overlap between chronic respiratory stuff and sleeping issues for a variety of reasons. And so we know that if you are not treating the sleep apnea, you are very likely to go back into the hospital. So we've got to make sure that we as clinicians are giving you every opportunity to make sure that your sleep apnea is treated properly. This is not a huge surprise. I think this is just kind of another review. This was a review of admission data from May 2017 to July 18, so about a year. Worsened readmission and mortality rates among hospitalized COPD patients who screened positive for sleep apnea as well. So we want to make sure that, and this maybe it doesn't point it out, but when you have untreated sleep apnea, you have a greater risk of things like pulmonary hypertension and a lot of those issues that contribute to you being sicker. And, of course, that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, if you're not treating yourself properly, you're going to be sicker. And if you're sicker, then you're at higher risk for going into the hospital in general. So the key is to make sure that you are treating everything appropriately. Now, there might be some confounding factors here. Again, we get into kind of the nutrition, things like that. Patients with obstructive sleep apnea had a greater body mass index. So we talked before, if you're not getting the proper nutrition, then you might be having issues there. A nearly threefold greater prevalence of heart failure, which again is not terribly surprising because if you have untreated sleep apnea, you're at greater risk for that. So potentially some confounding factors here that you need to be aware of at least. But the moral of the story overall is that you should be, if you are at risk for sleep apnea, as is pretty much everybody with COPD, you should get screened for it. If you are diagnosed with sleep apnea and you've been prescribed a CPAP machine or other therapy, please be using it because we want to make sure that we're minimizing your risk of going back into the hospital. So unfortunately, that is about the only spectacular news that we have for COPD right now. I'm hopeful to see some other stuff coming up. I would hope to what I really am interested in is seeing, and again, this is kind of why I want to get on board with the Zoom telecast. I want to get a better view of how we can use telehealth to better manage COPD. I've been having conversations and having discussions about what can we use telehealth for. And especially with my wife, who much of her practice is now switched over to telehealth and video visits and phone consults and things like that. And for me, I think that it can be very helpful to look at, inhaler technique and all that kind of stuff with video visits. Telephone visits probably a little bit trickier, but things like smoking cessation counseling and things like that can, still easily be done in that kind of setting. With video interaction, things like that, I think it would be fantastic to look at inhaler technique. I can wait. We can set up a time where, if we have a morning visit, I can say, well, wait to take your morning med until I can watch you take it. And then I can, yeah, there's Emma again.
Sorry.
And Potato is making her presence known as well. We can make sure that, yeah, like I said, that you're using good technique. I can watch you do your inhaler. I can make sure that you're holding your breath the appropriate amount of time. I can do all those things with a video visit and not drag you into a waiting room and drag you, make you pack up your oxygen and stuff like that. It just seems like it would be a very good way to do it. But I also know that a lot of people are not necessarily comfortable with that. And I want to make sure that I want to find out what I can do as a clinician to get people on board with being comfortable with telehealth and making sure that that's a viable option going forward. So I'm looking forward to learning some of that research. I think one of the things that's going to come out from this pandemic situation is telehealth is now kind of a huge deal, is kind of having a moment. Oh, hello, Potato. As you can see, she does like being the center of attention when it suits. Oh, Potato.
Where did she knock down?
One of the Iron Men.
Potato.
Thanks, Potato. In any event, so I want to make sure, I want to find out what we can do to get people comfortable and to get people using this so that we can, so it can be a very practical thing going forward. So.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there actually medicine in all of your inhalers over there?
No, actually, that's a really good question. That's what somebody asked me about that last week also. These are all placebo devices. This one and this one have a little bit of mist in them. They have some sterile water so that they make a mist so that you can kind of get the sensation from it. Same with this one. They have stuff in there so that they can, I call them simulators. So this one, they're labeled placebos, but I call them simulators. But no, there's no active medication.
Okay.
Because that would be breaking the law, because I am not prescribed an inhaled medication. So. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. All right, so
I'm not Tommy.
Haven't seen a lot of other questions coming in, so we'll probably go ahead and wrap up today. We got a big show on tap for tomorrow, as I mentioned. We've got Hello Taco Tuesday. There goes Potato again. Talking about self-care, nutrition. So if you've got nutrition questions, if you know people who have nutrition questions, particularly those with COPD or another chronic lung condition. Potato, come on, man. No, don't step on the keyboard, Potato. No, can't do that. Sorry. I'm flexible, but I'm not that flexible. What's the saying? Don't work with animals or children. Anyway, so yeah, tomorrow we're going to be talking nutrition, diet, particularly in the context of lung conditions. But if you have other questions, that's absolutely fine. I know Russell has been a fantastic advocate for making sure people are eating properly, and had some questions to interact with Kelly the last time she was a guest star.
Questions for Emma.
Questions for Emma. Well, again, we've got self-care stuff. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. So tomorrow's going to be a really fun show. Please make sure that you're spreading the news with that. And let's have a nice audience and a nice conversation for that. 4 o'clock Eastern time. John, yes. Nod and rest in peace to the inventor of the modern day pulse oximeter. That's right. I did see a news report about this. Takuo Aoyagi. I'm probably very much doing poorly with that. A Japanese engineer whose work in the 1970s led to the modern pulse oximeter, which I saw that actually on another Facebook group earlier today. I saw mention that when their hospital first got their pulse ox, it was on a cart. It was mounted on a cart that they had to take from room to room. And nowadays we can just have on our finger like so. I always pick that wrong finger. I don't want to highlight that. I already got a t-shirt that's highlighting that. So
Is that like the thing they put on at the hospital?
yes, this is the thing they put on at the hospital to measure how much of your hemoglobin is saturated by oxygen.
Whoa. That's not even plugged in anything. That's cool.
No, it's got a battery. This particular one runs on double A, I believe, or two triple A's.
Oh, you could put it on
Yeah.
a lanyard.
Yeah, I have a lanyard for it. It's just when I'm dangling around, and sometimes the lanyard gets in the way. But yeah, yep, two AAA batteries for this one. This is a clinical grade one. The nice thing about this is it also will connect to a phone or a tablet. So I use our clinic version a lot when we're doing our oxygen titration walks and things like that, because that way I don't have to be, it's more natural to swing your arms, but usually we have like a handheld thing, and this would be like connected to a cable on another platform, and then somebody can't swing their arm. But with the Bluetooth, I can have that set up really well. It
Nice.
uses this one. It's hard to see. You can kind of see.
There's a little sensor.
Yep, you
It's
can.
like a mouse sensor.
Yeah, there's a little red light, LED usually, and it measures how much light is reflected on certain wavelengths.
I don't think
What's that?
I don't know if I have it on right.
You just have to make sure that it's it's over the tip of your finger. It's got to be at least. Yeah, there you go. And it takes a second for it to read. Are you alive? There you go.
Oh, it says 99.
Yep.
Is that good or bad?
That's good. 100 is fully saturated. That is usually uncommon. And from a clinical perspective, there's not really much difference between like 95 and 100. Once you get lower than 95, we start getting a little bit concerned. And once you get under 88, then we start putting you on supplemental oxygen. But it's also important to remember, yes, this one is a Massimo. I like it. I mean, I've had good success with it. I had a conversation with Mark Mangus the other day. He's more of a proponent of Nonin. They work fairly well. I mean, I haven't really seen a significant difference personally. He has, so different practices are going to see different things. It's also important to remember that there are a lot of things that go into oxygen delivery. It's not just the pulse ox. It's how many boxcars you have. So we've got to look at your hemoglobin, how many of those, how well your cardiac output is going. It's really easy to focus on the number because it's something we can measure, but there are a lot of factors that go into it. And there are confounding factors too. If you get some of the less expensive ones that are out there, your Walmart brand or your Walgreens brand or Meijer brand, I'm not trying to throw any particular one under the bus, but sometimes those can be a little susceptible to artifact and things like that, so they can give you a false reading, high or low. So again, it's important to remember that much like spirometry, much like COPD assessment test score, much like any of these things that we do, it's all part of the picture, and you got to put the whole puzzle together to see the whole thing. So, so with that, Jamie, Emma is my daughter, Diana. Emma is, lean over for a second.
Just scooch my chair over, I think. Nope.
Oh,
Hello.
look up there, remember.
Hi.
This is Emma.
Almost 19.
She's my daughter, and learning about how to do webinars and things like that. She does a lot of excellent art. As a matter of fact, I showed this off a little bit on Friday. This is an icon that she made, a mascot, if you will, for a lot of what we do on Navigator. This is Llama Laba, the pony, with the pinwheel cutie mark, excuse me, for COPD awareness.
But she also wears a mask.
And
That's what this blue thing is.
she wears a mask. She's got her mask. Not on. So maybe we need to do a coronavirus version where she's wearing the mask.
I could do that.
But yeah, it was a fun group project. I kind of gave her some context for it, and I let her do her thing, and she did a great job with it. Looking at doing maybe one for some other respiratory superhero called the Nebulizer.
So you have to get back to me with the edits for that one.
Working on it. So we're looking at doing some other fun group projects and things like that. She's been a fantastic junior advocate, we'll say, for lung health. And I'm very fortunate that she and her brothers have all been very interested and supportive of a lot of the work we do in the chronic lung condition community to try and raise awareness and have a little fun. We've definitely had a little fun today, I think. So
I've had
I've had fun too. This was a nice discussion about Doctor Who. And some nice other discussions here. Cinco de Mayo, Taco Tuesday, and Nutrition tomorrow. Yeah, that is. Yeah, I didn't even put together the Cinco de Mayo. So
tacos.
we should have some healthy tacos with some lean ground beef or ground turkey, perhaps. But we'll talk about protein. We'll talk about. We probably won't talk much about tequila or margaritas or anything like that. But we will be talking about a lot of that other stuff. So
Taco Bell taco.
I would prefer not Taco Bell taco if we're
You
talking.
love Taco Bell.
I do, but that's not a good example. And while I may love certain things from Taco Bell in moderation, Taco Bell does not love me. So
I don't think Taco Bell loves anybody.
So we will be discussing certain forms of tacos, perhaps, and all that stuff tomorrow with special guest stars Kelly Becker and Emma Hess, the Delight, as she is known. With that said, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for another miscellaneous Monday, wrapping up episode 4, A New Week, because I couldn't put a hashtag on it. Where's my lightsaber again?
It'll be blue this time.
It will be blue this time. It's hard to tell in the video. Oh, that's very blue this time around. I should have gone with that.
Well, I turned it on and then I turned it off.
I know the red one was, but the red one was not very blue. I personally am partial to the green. That's why I went with that one on the thing up there. When I'm feeling, purple is a good one. Purple is unique. Mace Windu, I believe, had the only purple lightsaber. And while I may be known for my Star Trek fandom, I am certainly appreciative of what Star Wars has done for a variety of generations. Everybody, much like Doctor Who, everybody has their favorite trilogy. I think mine, I go back and forth. Arguably, the original with Luke and Leia and Han Solo.
The blockbuster as we know it.
But I will go out on a limb. And I will say the prequels get more hate than they deserve.
I like the prequels. I haven't seen a Star Wars movie in a really long time. I think the last one I saw was Rogue One, maybe?
I think Last Jedi was we never saw.
Oh, I saw The Last Jedi.
We didn't see Rise of Skywalker in the theater.
Solo.
But it's on
Disney Plus.
Yeah, so
today.
maybe we'll catch that sometime this week, and we'll give you our expert review tomorrow as part of our self-care discussion.
I like the prequels. To me, they're more entertaining.
I do not particularly care for Attack of the Clones. I'll put that out.
That's
there.
fair. Attack of the Clones is boring.
It's got some good parts to it.
Attack of the Clones is...
But it's disjointed.
Yes. Well, and it's just kind of like we're watching Anakin and Padme bond, and then we're watching the Jedi do things, and then battle.
Yeah, but some of it's cool. Like I like when Obi-Wan. I like when Obi-Wan is on the water planet and he's fighting Jango Fett. I mean, that's cool. That's a cool scene.
Is that the one where they're in the arena?
Yeah, and I like that at the end too. I mean, they're chasing the animals are chasing them around. I
remember that from the Lego.
That was
a hard mission.
Well, and clearly, the best Lego Star Wars game was Episode 3 because that gets into the Clone Wars and stuff, which I also understand is fantastic. That cartoon of Clone Wars, but
the game is fun.
There are enormous parts of Attack of the Clones that are just dull. Pacing is bad. But I really like Phantom Menace. Darth Maul, I don't care. Darth Maul is the best character ever in Star Wars. The music is Duel of the Fates is the best song. Even better for my money than Imperial March. I'm sorry. I love Imperial March, but Duel of the Fates.
I also like the song they play when Anakin and Obi-Wan are dueling.
Which is to me largely inspired by Duel of the Fates. I think it's called Fight of the Champions or something like that. It's but yeah, that is spectacular.
Rey's theme also solid song.
See, and that's
it's
my problem.
Slower, though.
That's my problem with the last trilogy is I barely remember any of it. It's like
that's fair.
I just it's just kind of there, and then it's like, yeah, I watched it and it's cool. I think I remember more about Rogue One than I remember either of the ones that we saw, and I really like Last Jedi.
I remember from The Last Jedi that they had all those signs up that were like, "Hey guys, fun fact: there's a period of extended silence. The movie's not broken. That's an art thing."
That is the world in which we live.
I like Rey. That's really the only character I like.
Well, and I think that's been part of the issue too. Is I think a lot of those characters had a lot more potential than was actually realized. So. But, yeah, so we are at 5:15. We've been having a good time today.
We
got a couple people left time. We'll save the Mandalorian. We should start just a whole other channel of sci-fi reviews. That would be fun. So, hopefully we will see all of you tomorrow. Again, we're going to be doing all that self-care for Holo Taco Tuesday. Maybe have some tacos, although that would be kind of weird to just watch people eat tacos on the show.
It's like a whole subgenre of YouTube.
Eating tacos?
Not specifically.
Or is that
tacos.
Like the ASMR stuff?
It's called mukbanging, and it's when people eat a large amount of food while talking to the audience.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't think I could think of anything worse.
I know that it's kind of popular, and that one guy got chased off the internet because he's not cool.
I think anybody that does that should be chased off the internet. Ugh. Anyway, we won't be doing that tomorrow. That's for sure.
Large amounts of tacos.
But we will have some more fun. We're gonna have fun the rest of the week because it's gonna be fun playing harmonicas. It's gonna be fun getting our Zoom on, and whatever we end up choosing for our Fitness Friday task. It's going to be amazing. So if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, please make sure that you're dropping them in wherever you can find comments. You can do them in this video. You can do them on our page. You can do them in our group. I see somehow we've picked up 6 people joining the group. So we'll get to those requests before too long.
On Twitter.
Find us on Twitter. Find us on YouTube. Tell us where else we need to be. You can find us on Twitch if you have somebody who's a gamer.
What's up, gamers?
And you want to share COPD with them, then have them find MSRRT on Twitch, because why not? Haven't done much with Instagram. I still can't figure out Instagram, as Emma can attest. I am just
Did you
not.
send me a link?
I'm not an Instagrammer. I'm sorry.
It's just pictures and then a caption.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of social media. Anyway. If there's other places we need to be, or if there's other things you want to see, let me know in a comment. We've got an email address now. Somewhere I'll point to it. There we go. Still haven't mastered the art of pointing to stuff. I guess I'll never fulfill my dream of being a weatherman. But we will see all you folks tomorrow. In the meantime,
Wait, what's the email address?
That is why she's an excellent social media expert. The email address is breathetv@copdnavigator.net. Still working on the website. Hopefully get that done later this week. But we should have some fun stuff. So until then, again, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay home, and take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep breathing lightly. So
Breathe lightly.
Hashtag breathe lightly. That's another one I'm trying to catch on here, folks. So that is our official theme. Look for official COPD Navigator swag coming soon, courtesy of cousin Jamie and Oh no, what's the design? What the name of her? No.
I don't know.
Well, now I can't leave until I actually give her again, blanking out, just like with all the original doctors and stuff like that.
Celery
Snap.
Man.
Where are you? And she's not watching anymore. It's unfortunate. Sparkbird design. So we're going to be getting hopefully some new swag on that. Let me know what kind of logo you might like. If you might like it on a hat, if you might like it on a shirt, if you might like it on a plane, if you might like it on
You can make one of those nice sweatshirts that has like the patch.
like embroidery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm trying to make a green eggs and ham joke, but it sounds like we've got some rumbling going on outside the studio, so we got to make sure that everything is all set there. So again,
You get emails from Jeopardy.
I am a geek. Yes, I get emails from Jeopardy. Bye, Joe. Bye, everybody else. We'll see you tomorrow. Breathe lightly and take care of yourself. See you tomorrow.